India's relationship with many countries. So that's what today in our class we are going to discuss about India's relationships between major superpowers that are what we discussed about United States of America and United Socialist Soviet Republic Russia, and also we have a relationship between our neighboring countries such as Pakistan, Bangladesh, and also Sri Lanka. So in our syllabus, we have this five major relationships with our Indian international relations systems. So actually, we have know about after Second World War, we have observed that world divided into two different regimes. So that's what we have called it as a capitalist regime and a socialist regime. So as per our knowledge, USA became as a capitalist regime and USSR became as a socialist regime. So that's what USA always opposing the socialist methodology, socialist methods of Russia. So as we discussed in previous classes, we have not supported and we have not been in part of these two power blocks. So they always try to get superpower in the world. So, but we are not maintained a relationship in between particular state, but we have maintained all peaceful relationship with the most of the nations in the world, such like even superpowers, even developing nations. After the end of the Cold War, also we have been initiated a program called non-alignment movement. So that's what all the nations are supporting India's ideology towards the non-alignment movement. But before that, after establishment of UNO, after the end of the World War II, UNO dominated by these two power blocks, that is USA and USSR, and also China also influenced in many times in the fields of operations and functions of the United Nations organization. So that's what UNO not actively participating in the maintenance of international peace and security, but its motto is international peace and security. But in the exercising its powers, it is fully dominated by these superpowers. After getting a peaceful manner into the all the nations are got to know about their internal ideology of that Cold War situation, because there is a ideology clashes between these two nations. That's what USA and USSR never participated directly into the any war, any kind of war, but many supported nations, means both USA and USSR supported nations are actively involving in many disputes like border disputes or all other disputes. They became in the part of the wars between the nations. So that's what they are silent in the nature of war, but the participant nations which are participated in that war supported by these two power blocks, which is USA and USSR. As we know about this Cold War situation is entirely changed the structure and shape of the international political system because of their intentional ideology about to get the superpower for the one nation. But we are not supposed to encourage this kind of thing. And also UNO is there for to control the this dominant character of this superpowers. Even as we know, there are five permanent members in the United Nations organizations also dominating the entire the functioning of this United States Nations organization. So that's what many countries are against fighting against with this in USA and USSR and also China. So many times we are also not supporting this United States of America and also Russia. So in recent times also we are maintaining peaceful bilateral relationship with many nations. So as we know, we are the most second populous country in the world. So after the China, we have many relationship with many nations. So that's what Even after getting independence, we have many international relations we are maintaining with many nations. So after getting independence, we have been in the part of mutual cooperation between the most of the nations which are participated and also members in the United Nations organizations. So in the part of our syllabus, we have to discuss about this Indo-US relations in the post-Cold War era. India's relationship with the US and defense and strategic issues has been strengthened. So that's what, as we know, we are also member of nuclear group. So after the support of United States of America, we have tested a first nuclear test in Pokhran that is conducted in 1974. After that, second more test is conducted in 1998 also in the time of Atal Bihari Vajpayee. After becoming the member of a nuclear group state, we are also been developing as one of the emerging superpower in the world. So many of the General Assembly members of United Nations organization are also supporting to become India as a permanent member. Even unofficially, USA also supporting to become a permanent member in the United Nations Permanent Security Council, but officially they are not supporting it. So they have some different ideology classes are there, because we are having both ideologies. We are in the process of globalization. We are accepting capitalist ideologies to in the name of financial development, but we are maintaining socialist ideology into the practice. So dear participants, please mute yourself. So we are having many fields of relations are having with the United States of America, like in healthcare or in job creation through trade and exports, even imports, and focus on infrastructure in both countries. We are also having better opportunities to in the fields of this 5G technology, and also we are having many multilateralism with this cooperation in wider areas, like many that what we say, many conferences are conducting in the name of multilateral relations with the all the nations. So we are in the fields of economy, we are in the fields of technology, we are maintaining separate developments has been made by both nations. When we are committing to an agreement, we are also having good relationship with the United States of America. So in the part of global politics, as we understood, there is no permanent friends, there is no permanent enemies, but there is only permanent interest by the nations in the world. So as we understood, every nation wants to develop themselves with the support of all the nations in the world. As we discussed, every state in need in the making of their in the strengthening their statehood. So that's what every nation in the world, after emerging modern state system, after entering into the third world nations, also trying to get a stronger state in the world. So in global politics, changing many nations rapidly, and it also has a rapid effects in the process of global relationships as well. So now the focus of the nations have shifted to unilateralism, protectionism, and isolationism from peace, joint cooperation, multilateralism, and liberalism, also usually propagated by the institutions such as United Nations and World Trade Organization, and also International Court of Justice. As we discussed, many regional organizations also there to support the nations in the fields of socio-political economic conditions. So in the forms of trade and commerce, all the regional cooperations also supporting the member states to grow economically first, then technical sharing, and also is one of the part of their mutual cooperation. So as we discussed, global politics is disturbed sometimes by disruptions caused by the trade war between the United States and China, and Brexit. Brexit means it's an organization impacting other nations. So these relations between these war situation mode between these United States and China and Brazil, Russia also. India also stands a crossroads in terms of its foreign policy. As we discussed in our foreign policy, we are maintaining a separate foreign policy for the development of our international relations with world. So India has to make crucial decisions in such times to sustain, and options available are like continue with the time-based stable policy on non-alignment and strategic autonomy. So as we discussed, we have introduced a perfect policy for the modern state world, that is a third world nations. We are proposed a policy that is called non-alignment movement, and also it is supporting all the third world nations to maintain a stability, maintain a neutrality among this power race between the superpowers and permanent members in the Security Council of United Nations organization. So every neutral nation, means every non-alignment participant country is maintaining neutrality between these two power blocks. So following unilateralism, and also we are a permanent treaty ally of one of the superpowers. So everyone in need of their development, they are maintaining relationship with any one of these superpowers. So like that, we are also have good relationship between the time of independence. We are having good relationship with Russia later in after getting independence. In the process of making nuclear reactors, we are got support from the United States of America in the technology sharing. So many new relationship and fresh territories has been adopting by the strategy of multi-alignment and transnational autonomy. So if we discuss, many good outweighs also there for the sense of skepticism, so remains because of Indian multilateral outreach. So that's what we are always being a friendly nation with both superpowers. So as we said, India is neutral, but we are getting support from both nations. So we are particularly not supporting any one nation. So we have good relationship with USA, we have good relationship with Russia also. So in recent times, many efforts has been made in the form of nuclear sharing and in decision making of United Nations organizations. India playing a one of the best role apart from the permanent members in the Security Council of United Nations organization. So if we discuss about sovereignty of the nations which are participated, which has membership in the United Nations organizations, it is the official right to of the sovereign nation states to make a formal ties and bonds based on mutual interdependence. So as we discussed, before establishment of United Nations organizations or before establishment of modern state system, also we have been observed in the history, in ancient times also, every state in the world is having bilateral relationship with the its neighboring states. So that's what in modern times, every sovereign nation also having a formal ties, formal trading agreements between the neighboring states. So India and USA should strengthen their relationship on global and regional levels and looks for issues of common interest. As we discussed, every nation is having a common interest in the name of their development, which can provide enormous opportunities for both countries to work closely in reshaping the global political order. So both nations have the potential to grow together
unit.
without.
Sir.
Hello, last unit.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, so by benefiting of mutual interest in understanding the mutual and bilateral relationship between the India and United States of America. So if we discuss about cooperation in healthcare also in clearly an area that India can play up in bilateral relations. So that two countries can also work in multilateral agencies across the spectrum of vaccines, like including COVID vaccine. In present times, in COVID vaccine development, we are getting support from this to developed nations. So India produces around 20% of global requirement of generic drugs by volume, and every third tablet of generics consumed by in the United States. So we are the main exporter of these generic drugs to the United States. So the president-elect has indicated his commitment to providing better and affordable healthcare. As we discussed in the preparation of our constitution also, we have borrowed many things from United States of America, such as fundamental rights and independent judiciary system. We have borrowed from the United States of America. So in the part of development of our system, we have been supported by the both Russia and United States of America. India can benefit from the both nations. So with the relationship with the USA, India also is one of the main partner in the job creation through trade and exports. So this portends well for the creation of employment in manufacturing, an area where strategic considerations and imperatives of job creation convergence is defense, especially since India has been designated a major defense partner of the United States. So if we observe many opportunities like in 5G technology, also there is a potentiality for Indian nationals in the creation of mutual opportunities in the fields of 5G technology sector. So the partnership between this sector has been increased a lot. So the two countries should engage in shaping the rules of new order in this space. So we have many bilateral and multilateralism with the cooperation in United States of America. Like for India, this could mean cooperation beyond defense and security, including economics, technology, and developments pertaining to the regional order. So as per our relationship with the United States of America, both countries should treat the economic and commercial dimension with as much priority as the strategic dimension. Both governments should embrace the prosperity creating potential of such an approach. So that's what India is, one of the emerging superpower in the country. With we are facing many competition environment with these already emerged superpowers like United States of America, Russia, China, like that. So we are also having a relationship with Russia also. So even let us talk about India's Russia bilateral relations, long-standing and time-tested partners. So even if we see India having relationship with Russia since 70 years old. So a key pillar of Indian foreign policy has been the cultivation of relations with Russia. So substantive relationship was cemented when the two countries signed the declaration on the India-Russia strategic partnership in recent times, in October 2020. So we have relationship with this USSR before independence only. Trust and mutual interests are on the basis of Indian relationship with the former Soviet Union or Russian Federation. So in the years after its independence, India gained industrially from the United States, Russia. So which provided in the base of its future growth. Starting in 1950s, India received from the Soviet Union in many various fields. We have got general its industrialization. So to establish industries in the Indian land. So its development in the areas of defense, space, and atomic energy had Soviet capital. As we know, India has a short of capital, foreign exchange, and technology. So Soviet Union filled the gaps in Indian development story, letting India pay for projects in rupees through a special arrangement. So India got reliable, affordable, and good quality military supplies and crucial products like oil and oil products, fertilizers, metals, etc., etc. So India emerging as a public sector unit was scripted with Soviet help. So India's relationship with USSR helped India in many ways to become one of more self-reliant nation in the world. So during the Cold War also, during Cold War and after establishment of this non-alignment movement, also India was a dependent on the USSR, because in the background they are supporting, not practically. We are not in the fields of getting support from the both nations. We are backgroundly, we are getting support from the both nations. So support of Soviet Union has been behind India's space. So that's what, in the name of technology sharing, in the name of nuclear advancement, the Indo-Soviet Partnership Treaty of 1971, in the wake of 1971 Indo-Pak War also, where Russia supported India, while the US and China supported Pakistan. Even now also, United States supporting Pakistan. We are facing a border dispute of Kashmir with Pakistan. That's what USA supporting Pakistan only. But we are getting support from the Russia, and also United Nations organization also. In this situation, it is maintaining neutrality, and also United Nations not ready to declare Pakistan as a terrorist state. So that's what we are not accepting that context of neutral role of United Nations organization in this our border dispute. So UNO is there for to resolve the border dispute between nations, but with the dominance of United States of America, United Nations organization is not actively playing a role in the this dispute. So in 1990s, India and post-Soviet Russia also we are having means in 1990s we have know that Russia disintegrated and divided into many states. So after that, Russia looked up the West and cut its third world engagement. So it started on a difficult transition to a market economy to become normal. So capitalist nation like Western countries. So the decline of Soviet military industrial complex, it shook therapy of transition to capitalist system. So in the name of development, they are also having both ideologies in the nature. They are maintaining socialist ideology, but in the name of financial development and economic development, they are maintaining financial relationship and capitalist ideologies with many nations. So in Soviet era, political, military and economic policies of USSR were seen through the overriding Marxist-Leninist framework. But after the ideologization of Russian foreign policy and security policy framework post 1991, it was Russia's economic interest that superseded ideology, which altered the board of countries like India. So Russia, a vast nation of 11 time zones, made a remarkable comeback under President Putin after a turbulent decade of economic and political instability in the wake of Soviet Union disintegration. So there has been a marked improvement in Indo-Russian relations that had suffered setback after the collapse of Soviet Union. So bilateral relationship, high-level visits have been institutionalized and mutual visits by heads of the states. So we are visiting Russia, they are visiting India, and made many bilateral agreements between both nations. So such as we are also became a full member of Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and it also engaged with Russia in the BRICS forum. So India military continues to depend the Russian hardware, although dependence in reinventing itself in one of the partnership in joint production of the usual supplier-client relationship. So countries like United States aspire to be India's defense supplier, as India is one of the world's most lucrative arms market. Of late, Russia has turned to Pakistan for arms sale out. Nothing serious has materialized yet. Pakistan was also accommodated as a full member of Shanghai Cooperation Organization. So Russia's, if we see the Russia's emphasizes on the multipolar world, also both Russia and India support the concept of multipolar world. So as we discussed multipolarity, a nation having relationship with multi-nations, more than 2-3 member states. That's called multipolarity. So that's what this vision supports a coexistence of multiple powers and possibilities in the international system. So as we discussed, every nation having a good relationship with many nations. So that's what we are having good relationship with the United States of America and also Russia. If we discuss about relationship with China, we are having good relationship with China also. So in many times after the establishment of our India as a sovereign state, we have been maintaining relationship with both nations like China. So we are having a good relationship like India and China made in the time of 1954. We have a Panchashil Treaty that is in the name of Indian international relationship. In our Indian foreign policy also, we are placed in that formula into the our foreign policy system. So that's what both nations should respect each other's sovereignty, integrity, like that. No one nation can enter into their political political system. So that's what both China and India is unique personalities in the international political system. In 1950s, India and China established a diplomatic relationships. So India was the first non-socialist country to establish relationship with the People's Republic of China, and the catchphrase of Indi Chini Bye Bye so became famous. So in 1955, both countries attended the Asian African Conference, in which 29 countries participated in Bandung, that is placed in Indonesia, and jointly advocated the Bandung spirit of solidarity, friendship, and cooperation. So it has led to the decolonization of the whole of Asia and Africa, and to the formation of non-alignment movement as the third way between the two blocks of superpowers, as we discussed, USA and USSR. So the first NAM summit conference took place in Belgrade, Yugoslavia in 1961. So we have also having border conflict laid a serious setback in bilateral relationship with China also. China and India restored ambassadorial relationship, and bilateral ties improved gradually in 1976. So at the time of Rajiv Gandhi period, Rajiv Gandhi visited China and initiated the process of normalization of bilateral relationship. So at the time, the two sides of nations agreed to look forward and develop bilateral relationships actively in other fields while seeking a mutually acceptable solution to boundary questions. So as we discussed, every nation is facing this kind of situation, but we are having major boundary disputes between Pakistan, Bangladesh, and China. We are not having that much disputes in water area with Sri Lanka, but we are having major boundary disputes with these two countries like Pakistan and China. So at the time of Indian President R. Venkatraman visited China, and he was the first president who visited China since the independence of Republic of India. So after that, Chinese President Jiang Zemin visited India. He is also first person to visit the China after establishment of this bilateral ties between both nations. So many arguments, many agreements has been made by both nations, and also in recent times we are having political and diplomatic relations too. The Communist Party of China has maintained friendly exchanges with 9 major Indian political parties, including BJP, Congress, and left-wing parties for a long time. So means they need bilateral relationship. We are having, there is a political party change in our democratic system. That's what the Communist Party of China is having maintained a friendly bilateral relationship with our national parties. So 20 interparliamentary friendship groups have been set up by the China and India. There are 50 dialogue mechanisms also made between China and India for exchanging views on various topics of bilateral, regional, and global concern. So, if we observe in the fields of economy and trade, since the beginning of 21st century, trade between China and India has grown from the less than $3 billion to nearly $100 billion. So an increase about 32 times. So in the fields of science and technology also, both nations have held joint research workshops on science and technology innovation. So Indian companies have set up IT corridors in China, which help promote China-India cooperation in IT sector and high technology. So in the fields of defense, hand in hand joint anti-terrorist exercises to enhance mutual understanding and trust, and also exchange training experiences and jointly improve anti-terrorism capabilities. So China-India defense and security consultation is strengthen exchanges and cooperation in the defense field. As we know, many clashes also there in the border disputes. In recently, we have been attacked by Chinese army without weapons. That is separate, but we have maintaining in the forms of agreements. We are maintaining a bilateral relationship in friendly manner only. So, in case we have to discuss about people to people exchange program, both nations have held meetings. China, India, high level people to people and cultural exchanges mechanism. The two sides have made new progress on exchanges and cooperation in the fields of art, publishing, media, film and television, museum, sports, youth, terrorism, locality, traditional medicine, yoga, education, and think tanks like many institutions has been formed in both countries. So sessions of China-India high-level media forum and China-India think tank forum were held in strengthen exchanges and cooperation between in the field of media. So if we observe in today's achievements, India and China relationship embodied the great efforts of several generations. So both the nations need of master of four keys that are leading, transmitting, shaping, and integrating. At this moment, it is particularly important to revisit the original aspiration of establishing diplomatic relationship with even 70 years ago, and carry forward the spirit of good neighborliness and friendship, unity, and cooperation with China. So we also having good relationship with our neighboring states, that is Bangladesh, and also we are having relationship with our neighboring state like Pakistan and Sri Lanka too. So if we discuss about relationship with India and Bangladesh, it is in a recently Prime Minister of India visited Bangladesh in commemorate in the 50th anniversary of the War of Liberation in the centenary year of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. So historically, India has played a critical role in the creation of Bangladesh. So we are in the part of their liberation movement. So in the creation of Bangladesh, we have India is the first state to recognize Bangladesh as an independent sovereign nation. So India's political, diplomatic, and military and humanitarian support during Bangladesh liberation war played an important role towards Bangladesh independence. So this is the first visit in recent times. So, outbreak of the COVID-19, Indian Prime Minister visited Bangladesh. In that, India attaches great importance, to the relationship with its eastern neighbor. We are facing many disputes with Bangladesh, but even since 50 years of India-Pakistan war since happened in 1971 that led to the liberation of Bangladesh. So at the time of liberation, this Bangladesh, we supported them. So this is the important thing for their independence. So Bangladesh War of Independence, Vijay Divas, is observed as 16th December every year to mark India's victory over Pakistan in the 1971 war. So the government of India on 3rd October 1971 declared that it would go for war with Pakistan to save Bengali Muslims and Hindus. So this war was fought between India and Pakistan for over 13 days. So at the time, on 16th December 1971, the chief of the Pakistani forces with 93,000 soldiers has surrendered unconditionally to the allied forces consisting of Indian Army and Mukti Bahini in Dhaka. So Bangladesh was born on this day. That's what they are celebrating Independence Day, Vijay Divas, on 16th December every year. So if we talk about India-Bangladesh relations, so India was one of the first countries, as we discussed, to recognize as Bangladesh as a sovereign nation. So at the time, from the time of 1971, we are having mutual bilateral relationship with Bangladesh. So in the fields of defense cooperation, in the fields of cooperation over rivers, in the relationship, in the fields of economic relations too. So Bangladesh is India's biggest trade partner in South Asia. So India exports to Bangladesh for every year more products to the Bangladesh. So in the fields of defense cooperation, various joint exercises have army exercise. Many, even army or navy, can take place between two countries. So we have to maintain border management peacefully with the help of both mutual agreements. So that's what India-Bangladesh land boundary agreement came into force following the exchange of instruments for ratification in 2015. So in case we are having almost India-Bangladesh share 54 common rivers, a bilateral joint rivers commission has been working since June 1972 to maintain liaison between two countries to maximizing benefits from common river systems. So we are having both river sharing. Also we are having a dispute of sharing of Ganga water also. So that's what there is a commission to resolve this water disputes. Sharing of river water disputes is established for the sake of this resolution. So if we observe about cooperation and connectivity, both countries jointly inaugurated a newly restored railway link between Haldibari from India to Chilahati, Bangladesh. So welcome the signing and second addendum to the protocol on inland water transit and trade. So agreed to an early operationalizations of Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Nepal initiative motor vehicle agreement. So there is a cooperation in power sector also. This has become one of the hallmarks of India-Bangladesh relationship. So in many multilateral forums, so both India and Bangladesh are participating equally. So India thanked Bangladesh for supporting India in the election to the United Nations Security Council. So both countries agreed to continue working together towards achieving early reforms of UN Security Council in combating climate change, attainment of sustainable development goals, and protection of the rights of migrants. So we are also stand for the protection of the rights of migrants. So highlighted that regional organizations such as SAARC and Bay of Bengal initiative of multi-sectoral sectoral technical and economic cooperation that we called in short form BIMSTEC. So we are in the both Bangladesh and India is primary members of SAARC and BIMSTEC and playing an important role in the exercise of their powers. So even Bangladesh also supporting India in many international relationships. In recent times, recently India and Bangladesh signed 7 agreements and also inaugurated 3 projects to deepen their partnership. So in further area, in further times, both nations has come forward to maintain peaceful bilateral relationship with the both nations. So the two countries need to focus on priority areas such as investments, security connectivity development and cross-border energy cooperation and blue economy, cultural economy and environment and disaster management, etc. Mostly both nations have to come forward in this, focus on these areas. So to even both nations have to focus to resolve the refugees like Rohingyas crisis. So in many times there are many emerging disputes also there. There should be efforts to resolving pending issues concerning sharing of waters, resolving continental self issues in the Bay of Bengal, and bringing down border incidents to zero. So and managing the media too. So Bangladesh has already raised concerns over roll out the National Register of Citizens (NRC) that is maintaining in Assam, an exercise carried out to identify genuine Indian citizens living in Assam and weed out illegal Bangladeshis. So currently, Bangladesh is an active partner of Belt and Road Initiative that Delhi has not signed up to. So in the security sector, Bangladesh is also major recipient of Chinese military inventory and including submarines. So that's what some sorts of miscommunication gaps are there between the relationship with both nations. So in many times India learning from Bangladesh in that Bangladesh is the region for fastest growing economy with social indicators and other countries including India. So can learn. This is the vital link with which India can realize the full potential of either the economic and strategic underpinnings of its activist policy. So in terms of water sharing also, all countries desire to be recognized as equal, as we maintained in many organizational objectives. All the nations are treating as equal. They also want bigger countries to take more responsibility for protecting this equality manner. So this India must play a pioneering role in India-Bangladesh relations. So therefore, as a larger country, the onus is on the India to be genius enough to let the water flow and resolve the dispute over Teesta water and 6 other rivers. So balancing trade should be maintained by the both nations. So if we wanted to grow fastly, we have to cut off taxes, we have to cut off many tariffs levied by the both nations in the forms of imports and exports should be removed. So as Bangladesh celebrates its 50 years of independence, India continues to be one of its most important neighbors and strategic partners. So to make the recent gains irreversible, both countries need to continue working on these three C's like cooperation, collaboration, and consolidation. So that's what every nation has to be stand for, the maintain peaceful bilateral relationship between the nations in the world. So that's what India, Bangladesh having good relationship in the modern times. So in the fields of trade, in the fields of many financial cooperation, technical sharing, we are having good relationship with Bangladesh. So now we are going to discuss about India's Sri Lanka relationships. So the relationship with India and Sri Lanka is more than 2,500 years old. So at the time of Ashoka Chakravarti, we are having relationship with Sri Lanka. So both countries have legacy of intellectual, cultural, and religious and linguistic interaction. So in recent years, the relationship has been marked by the close contacts at all levels. So trade and investment have been grown, and there is cooperation in the fields of infrastructure development, education, culture, and defense too. So in recent years, significant progress in implementation of development assistance projects also there has further cemented the bonds of friendship between the two countries. So the nearly 3-decade long armed conflict between Sri Lanka and Sri Lankan forces and the LTTE came into an end in May 2009. As we observed during the course of this conflict, India supported the right of the Sri Lankan government to act against terrorist forces. So, as we discussed in the topic of terrorism, we are support of elimination of these terrorist organizations in the practice. So that's what we are supported Sri Lankan government to solve the problem between Sri Lanka and LTTE. So India's consistent position has been in favor of a neighborhood political settlement, so which is acceptable in all communities within the framework of United Sri Lanka, and it is consistent with democracy, pluralism, and respect for human rights too. So we are facing the issue we have been discussed in the fields in the topic of human rights. We are standing for the purpose of protection of human rights in all grounds without any discrimination. So, and geopolitical significance of Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is located in Indian Ocean region as an island state of has been strategic geopolitical relevance to several major powers. So some examples of highlight Western interests of Sri Lanka's strategic location are the British Defence and External Affairs Agreement in 1948 and the Maritime Agreement with Soviet Russia in 1962. So it was also even during 1978 and 89, Sri Lanka was chosen to build a Voice of America transmitting station suspected of being used for intelligence gathering purposes and electronic surveillance of the Indian Ocean. So it was the massive Chinese involvement during the Rajapaksa tenure, so that garnered to deepest controversy in recent years. So in modern times, China is building state-of-art gigantic modern ports all along with Indian Ocean to the south of it. So in Gwadar, Pakistan, Chittagong, Bangladesh, and Hambantota in Sri Lanka. So China's string of pearls strategy is aimed to encircling India to establish dominance in the Indian Ocean. So that's what we are having some miscommunication gaps between China and Sri Lanka. So post 2015, Sri Lanka still relies heavily on China. So for port city project and for continuation of Chinese founded infrastructure projects in Sri Lanka. So if we discuss about what are the political relationship between the India and Sri Lanka, as a country that emerged from a civil war facing human rights allegations, the domestic politics and international relations of Sri Lanka are heavily geopolitical with foreign powers having vested interests. So political relationship between India and Sri Lanka have been marked by high-level exchanges of visits at regular intervals. So that's what we are visiting Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka high officials came to India to discuss about our political relationship and bilateral relationships. So in many times, Sri Lanka also is a primary member of BIMSTEC, and also both we are having membership in SAARC too. So recently, India has invited leaders of BIMSTEC member countries to attend the swearing of Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his Council of Ministers. This is in the line of government's focus on neighborhood first policy. That's what in our national occasions we are inviting our neighboring states heads. So heads like Prime Minister or President. So at the time of civil war, Sri Lanka has been married and ethnic conflict since the country, formerly known as Ceylon, became independent from British rule in 1948. A 2001 government census says Sri Lanka's main ethnic populations are the Sinhala 82%, Tamil 9.1%, and Sri Lanka more 7.9%. So as we discussed in the ethnicity chapter, we have been discussed about different ethnic groups in the world. So like that, many ethnic groups are living in entire the world. In the years of following independence, the Sinhala, who resented the British favoritism toward Tamils during the colonial period, disfranchised Tamil migrant plantation workers from India and made Sinhala the official language. So many ethnic ties has bound Sri Lanka with southern India more than 2 million millennia. So India is home to more than 60 millions of world 77 millions of Tamils, while about 4 million live in Sri Lanka, remaining living in our Tamil area. So at that time, many operations has been conducted by both nations. We are having commercial relations too. So Sri Lanka is one of the India's largest trading partner, like Bangladesh. Among the SAARC countries, India's turn is Sri Lanka's longest trade partner globally. So India exports Sri Lanka amounted about $5.3 billion in 2015-17, whereas its imports from the country were at least $743 million. So trade between two countries grew particularly rapidly after the India-Sri Lanka Free Trade Agreement, which came into force in March 2000. So we have many free trade agreements are made in 1990 and entered into force in 2000. So the basic premise of this signing free trade area was asymmetries between two economies, local socio-sensitivities, safeguard measures to protect domestic interests, and revenue implications so as not to impact high revenue generating tariff lines in short term. So in nutshell, India sought to do more without investing on strict reciprocity from Sri Lanka, as we discussed about reciprocity. So we are not getting return from Sri Lanka, but we are supporting to their economy growth. So many agreements are made for the protection of cultural activities. Cultural cooperation agreement has been made. We have educational relations also. We are having many organizations to maintain our relationship with Sri Lanka. In recent years, China extended billions of dollars loans to Sri Lankan government for new infrastructure projects, as we discussed, like port to construction of new ports in Indian Ocean area. So we are having a fisherman issue too. So in the fields of water border disputes, we have a fisherman issue too. So, however, many treaties has been made and failed to factor the hardship of thousands of traditional fishermen who are forced to restrict themselves to a migrant area in their fishing forests. So, India, Sri Lanka have agreed to set up a joint working group on fisheries between Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare of India and Ministry of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources Development of Sri Lanka as the mechanism to help find a permanent solution to resolve this fisherman issue. So this is our last class. Yes, this is the last class. If you have any doubts, you may ask me for your clarification.
Sir, give any important questions, sir.
I have given my number. Please contact on that number. Not possible in this class because we have no time to.
Sir, give you your number. We have a group.
Already I have given. No? So okay, I'm dropping my number.
Okay, sir.
You can contact there.
Sir?
Yes.
Sir, explain the issues of environment as a global concern.
Already we have discussed in the previous class, Amma. We have many agreements. UNO also made many agreements between member states on this environment topic. Are you not got the textbooks? Did you get the textbooks from university?
Yes.
Okay. You can clarify in that textbook.
Sir, I hear that. Sir, I hear that.
Yes.
My friend said that question paper has changed. Is it right or not, sir?
I don't know, ma. that is
You
in
said
university's
that
hands.
they skip all the fill in the blanks and choose the correct answers, all this.
I don't know exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Let me know, I will inform.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Okay, thank you for your participation and all the best for your exams, both 5th and 6th semester.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, I'm concluding my session. Thank you for your participation and all the best once again.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, I'm leaving the class.
Hello, friends. Hello. Hello, friends. Who are in the group, please respond. Sir has given, we can add in that group. Sir will give the important questions. Are you okay?
Muskan, can you talk to me?
Hello.
Muskan, you are from Kukatpalli branch.
Yes.
Actually, I want to know you have Hindi subject or not?
सेकेंड लैंग्वेज मेरा हिंदी है पण अपनी ये ना 5th and 6th सेमेस्टर में
नहीं, लिटरेचर विच लिटरेचर कौन सा है आपका लिटरेचर?
नहीं होता मेरे का नहीं है.
इंग्लिश लिटरेचर है शायद आपका.
नहीं, इंग्लिश नहीं है मेरा. हिस्ट्री है. हिस्ट्री है, पॉलिटिकल साइंस, सोशियोलॉजी है, वो है पार्ट 1 पार्ट 2 वो है.
अच्छा, ठीक है. नहीं, आप हिंदी है समझी थी मैं आपका.
नहीं है.
ठीक है, फिर आप पढ़िए.
पढ़ रहे.
ठीक है.
ठीक है.